Are you at the point in your houseplant collecting journey where you feel like you've got the majority of houseplants that you can find in like grocery stores, garden centers, plant shops? You're there, but you just don't know what exactly to go for next. You kind of want to try some things that are a little bit more uncommon, but you're not sure where to start. Even if you are already into the sort of more uncommon or rare plant scene, maybe you just want to look at some pretty cool plants today and you might find some new ones to put on your wish list. Well, this is the video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about several different types of houseplants that are sort of uncommon versions of common houseplants that you might already have in your collection, and so you might know the care of already. So they're a great way to kind of step into a more uncommon collection and really expand. You may have seen these plants before, you may not have. Before I get into it though, I want to say if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos and subscribe to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you returning. Let's get into it. I also really want to say, before everything, these plants are not necessarily botanically rare. Pretty much anything that you can find in online plant shopping is not botanically rare. And so I know lots of plant shops call these plants rare and uncommon. They're not all rare, botanically. They're just less likely to be found in sort of your average common plant shop, and so that's sort of what constitutes them as rare. A lot of these are also a little bit more expensive, not all of them. I know plant prices have generally gone down in the past few years, which is great, so they're a little bit more on the expensive side, so they might cost you a little pretty penny, but I personally, for the ones I have at least, I think they're worth it. There's definitely some in here that I don't have as well, which I'd also really probably want because they're really cool and pretty, but I'll be showing a whole bunch today. Okay, let's actually get into this now. Okay, so a lot of you have probably heard of the scindapsus pictus, your satin pothos. It's a pretty common houseplant. There are several different types of uncommon scindapsus out there, and they're some of my absolute favorites. I have a whole pot in my bedroom full of different sorts of scindapsus, including the sort of typical satin pothos, but also things that are a bit more on the rare side, like the scindapsus tricolor. That's a really freaking cool one. And the scindapsus silver cloud. Also, there's some variegated scindapsus out there. I've got one here that I pulled out to show. Look at that. This is the scindapsus variegated jade satin, and I just think it is so cool. It grows in that sort of typical scindapsus way in vines at the minute, and it's doing really well in here. It is still just as chill and easy. I'm pretty sure all of the scindapsus I have, even the uncommon variegated ones, I give them all the exact same care, and they seem to be perfectly happy with that in my home. I might give variegated ones a little bit more light because they're variegated. Any bits that are white in the leaf don't have chlorophyll, and you need chlorophyll for photosynthesis to happen. So those parts can benefit from slightly higher light. I'm not saying go stick it in full sun, but they'll need a little bit more than darker varieties, if that makes sense. But there's loads of really lovely scindapsus out there. Scindapsus in general is one of my absolute favorite genuses, and so I just want all of them. There's so many really cool ones. I think the Mayari, I might have cuttings of it from a friend. It might be in my greenhouse cabinet. It's too packed right now for me to get half the stuff out. It's really unfortunate, but I love it. And I think that's a really cool one. There's just, the like really dark black ones as well that I've seen on, I think, Scindapsus Borneo on Instagram. Oh my goodness. I want them so badly. Just like the deep, dark, lovely, almost black goth ones. There's just so many different types, and I feel like, I guess the rarer they are, probably the more difficult they are, but there are loads of really pretty ones out there. Also, I've got this one here. I forgot This one is a sort of mint variegated one, where the last one was more chunky variegation. This one is minty, but still that sort of same easy-going care. I've just got these. These are just some actually stem cuttings propagating in some soil at the minute. So I'm hopefully going to get all of these to root, and then I'll have a nice bushy plant in here. Another sort of classic houseplant that you'll see everywhere, I'd say probably the houseplant that's known for being a houseplant is the Monstera deliciosa. And there are actually a few different types of variegated deliciosa out there, including the Monstera Thai constellation, which is definitely coming down in price. They're definitely becoming more available. You might see them in a sort of plant shop. You probably won't see them in a grocery store, at least not in the UK where I live. But they are a really, really cool variegated version with these lovely little cream splashes in the leaves, and they are a little bit more difficult than the average Monstera, just because I found that mine at least has been prone to root rot. But now that I'm kind of past that like early stage when it didn't have much, it has become really robust, and I can pretty much not exactly do anything to it, but pretty much do anything to it and it'll be fine. And so it's a really, really lovely one. I've got mine back here. It's just got a giant leaf. Look at that. I mean, giant for my collection. It's the biggest Monstera leaf I've ever had, which is really exciting. There's also more even rarer and much more expensive sort of variegated Monstera types, like the Monstera mint. What is it? The Monstera aurea. Those kind of ones that you'll pretty much only see getting like imported. Those will cost you a pretty penny. They're definitely out of my budget, and I don't really feel like I need to have one in my collection, but if you want to get into that world, that could be cool. Also things like the Monstera Bromers Flame, which is becoming much more popular here, at least. I've definitely seen them popping up a little bit more, lowering price. Not crazy, it's still like quite high up there and more than I would be willing to spend on a plant that I'm not familiar with, but I have a feeling the care is fairly similar to a Monstera deliciosa, and it's going to be fairly robust. I've felt the leaves of one before, and they're just like quite thick, which makes me feel, I'm not positive on this, but it makes me feel like it's going to be a little bit hardier, if that makes sense. A very common pet safe plant is the banana plant or Musa dwarf, and there are some gorgeous variegated versions of the Musa plant out there. The most common ones that I've seen are the Musa Florida variegated, which I have my eye on, and I really, really want to get my hands on soon. Hopefully I will be able to. I might put in an order sometime soon. We will see, which has these lovely like chunks of variegation on its leaves. There's also one with more pinky variegation that I've seen going around. I think it's the Musa No-No. Personally, it's not my cup of tea, but I can definitely see the appeal if you're into like really bright, colorful pink plants. The No-No could be a great one to put on the list. Again, these are still quite high in price, but they are coming down. They are becoming more readily available, at least here. And I think maybe in another year or two, they will be not necessarily commonplace, but kind of in the same boat as the Thai Con, where it's lowered in price and can be found a bit more easily. This next one is kind of more of a general one. It is about variegated alocasias. Alocasias in general tend to be pretty common in plant stores. You can find a lot of different types, whether it be the poly, the dragon scale, zebrina. Those are all quite readily available, but they have variegated counterparts out there, and some of these plants are just insane. I think that they are so incredibly beautiful and so fun, and I kind of want a variegated version of every single alocasia I have in my home. And we're getting to the point where they're becoming more and more readily available with the variegated Mitchelletiana, variegated Friedeck. That has become quite, I wouldn't say common, but you will be able to find that in quite a lot of online plant shops these days, but there are still ones that are a bit more uncommon. I have a little one here that I can show you. This little guy is a variegated dragon scale, and it's got some insane variegation with that half moon leaf, and the next one being all dappled. I am so excited to be able to grow this one a little bit bigger. I grew this from a tissue culture, and so they're getting more common. They're more and more about every sort of day. I'm seeing more and more available, and so I feel like maybe in a year's time, at least I really hope that this time next year, more and more variegated alocasia types will be sort of knocking about. They'll be more available. I'll be able to get my hands on more for like not outrageous sums of money. It is happening. I know it is because I've seen them like actually come onto the market in this past like even few months. I'd say in the last 6 months they've really started popping off and becoming much more popular. So I really think that with the sort of not ease necessarily, but with the like readily available corms that will come out of them, I know it'll take some work to sort of grow them up from corms, but I think it'll be great because all of those propagated corms will be joining into the sort of plant market and will have more readily available. Another super chill, low maintenance plant is the Chinese evergreen or aglaonema. You've probably seen an aglaonema Maria in your average plant store. You might even have been able to buy one from the supermarket. They're around. But there are so many different varieties of aglaonema out there, and a lot of people don't know that there's ones that come in a bit more pink hue as well. Again, they're not really my style as much, but I can totally see them in many people's homes, and I can see the appeal of them. Personally, there's 2 types of aglaonema that I would love to get my hands on at some point. First being the aglaonema tricolor. It's very different in leaf feel than other aglaonemas, which tend to be a bit more leathery, sort of almost even waxy vibes, like very smooth. The tricolor is a velvety. It's velvety, a velvety aglaonema. Like, what? Since when is that a thing? I don't know, but it is super duper cool, and I would really love to get my hands on one at some point. Also, the variegated aglaonema Manila Pride, I think it's called. I saw this one on Instagram the other day, and holy freaking cow, those chunks of variegation, chef's kiss. I want it. Like, put it in my home. I want it now. So hopefully I will be able to get my hands on those at some point. I feel like the tricolor is definitely a lot more available than the Manila Pride, but you know, one day it'll happen. It'll just take a little bit of time. Another one of the most classic beginner houseplants is the heartleaf philodendron. It is very common, fairly easy houseplant to take care of, and there is a really cool variegated version out there that is definitely a lot more uncommon. Again, this is one that is really coming into the market. My one is not incredibly variegated, given I have a mixed pot where some of the plant is just normal heartleaf, and then other parts of the plant are variegated. So it's a bit of a mixed pot, and mine's not heavily variegated or anything. So it's not a huge stark contrast, but you can get some types out there that are extremely variegated and have really beautiful coloration on them. And again, these have the same sort of really chill, easy care that the heartleaf has, with maybe like the most minimal amount of extra light needed in order to help it continue to grow. If you put them in the same sort of spot, they'll just grow slower and potentially with smaller leaves, but you could grow them in the same place and it could be absolutely fine. Similarly, we've got the philodendron cream splash, which is a different version of the Brazil. It's got a stripe of cream in the middle as well. And also there's, the philodendron Rio, I think is an even more uncommon version of the Brazil with, I think it's a little bit more of a thinner line of variegation than the cream splash. I have a cream splash and a Brazil in the same pot in the other room. It's just a bit big and I didn't want to hold it, so I will show you pictures instead. But again, I have them in the exact same pot, the exact same conditions. They're both growing exactly the same, and it's just a little bit more fun and different, and I think adds a little bit of extra oomph to the Brazil because it's got that lovely cream line. And mine's actually growing quite heavily variegated as well, which is nice. It's very, very white, as opposed to sometimes I feel like the Brazil can feel really yellow, which again isn't necessarily my preferred variegation type, but it's still really pretty. So like, I'm not gonna get rid of my Brazil. I'm just gonna add my cream splash to it and like get it to a point where it's maybe like 50-50. That would be really freaking cool. Around winter time, you will probably see Thanksgiving and Christmas cacti pop up. They're pretty common jungle cacti. I actually even see them in like grocery stores. They are quite a common plant, especially around the holidays. It's a holiday cactus. But if you didn't know, there is a variegated version, and I know mine is still extremely small. It is not big. I'm slowly growing it from a few quite small cuttings, but it is slowly getting there and growing really, really well. I think this one's probably one of the coolest that I have from this video. I haven't really seen very many other people have them. I don't see them for sale in the UK at all. I got mine from cuttings from other people rather than from a shop. So I don't even know if they get sold. I genuinely haven't seen them in like plant shops, so I don't think they do. But they are really, really cool and different, and I think they kind of add a little bit more fun, given the sort of normal Christmas cactus is really cool on its own. They produce really gorgeous flowers. But I don't know, just a little bit of variegation goes a long way in my opinion, and I really love the variegation on this one. And these ones do bloom as well. Because mine is so small, haven't been able to get mine to bloom yet, but in time, once it gets a little bit bigger, hopefully I will get it to bloom and grow into a big, beautiful Thanksgiving cactus that's got some variegation on it. And then last but not least, a couple years ago, the uncommon version of this plant came in at a whopping £12,000. It's not that expensive today, don't worry. The raphidophora tetrasperma, it is a super common, very fast growing houseplant. Mine grew all the way up a pole the height of me in the course of a year. Very fast, very easy to care for, loves a little bit of light, and it's just generally really easy. The variegated version, I think, is so cool. I do have some. Right now I have recently chopped mine up to propagate, so it's in a bit of pieces right now. Not really that great to show you, but there are some really cool pictures of them online, and I would love to get mine growing really, really big, or even pot mine into the same pot with a normal raphidophora tetrasperma. I don't know why. I've done this with a lot of uncommon versions of common plants. I think they look really cool next to their common counterparts. It just adds a little bit more fun to the pot and difference. I mean, you know me, I like having my split hair. I like having my split pots. It's kind of the same vibe. And I really like it. So I think that would be a really cool way to show off an uncommon version next to the common version and add a nice contrast in there. A bit of a plant styling tip if you were looking for one. So yeah, the variegated raphidophora tetrasperma is still really, really chill, and they have massively come down in price. I think I got my one, it wasn't massive or anything, but I think I got it for maybe 60 to 90 pounds last year, and I think they've gone even further down since then. So we have really dropped in price from that 12 grand that it was a few years back. I cannot believe it was that expensive for such a fast growing plant. I also don't know who could afford 12 grand for a small plant. God, if only. One day maybe I'll get there, but even then, I couldn't fathom it. But I mean, it happened, it got sold for that, and I'm sure they've gone for thousands since then, but now I'm loving that they're down under the 100 mark. It makes them so much more accessible and also really fun. And again, they are just as easy as their non-variegated counterparts. Super chill, not very much fuss. Just grows like a normal raphidophora, which grows like a weed. So yeah, those are all of the uncommon versions of common houseplants I'm going to be talking about today. There are definitely more out there, so if you want me to make a part 2 to this video sharing more uncommon versions or rare versions of common houseplants, let me know and I can hopefully make that happen in the future. Also, if you have any suggestions for what could go on that list, pop it down in the comments. But otherwise, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to keep growing. Bye!